Okay, so I'm here with Silvia from Silvia Sutherland Hypnotherapy, and we've done a therapy swap, which has been really, really lovely. I've had a lovely past life regression with Silvia, and you've had some EFT with me.
I have.
And so we're just going to have a little chat, kind of talk about our experience of that. And then if you want to see those sessions, just keep watching, and they are later in the video.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, so shall we talk about hypnotherapy first?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Um, so
So,
it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. So we talked about money stuff, didn't we?
mm,
And you'd guided me really gently into a past life. Um, and some big stuff did come up for me. I could feel a
mhm,
lot of emotion coming out. And it felt really, really cleansing. I think as
mm,
a therapist, I'm really used to kind of feeling safe with emotion coming up. And
mhm.
I know that some people can get a little bit daunted by that. Um, but it was just it was in no way traumatic. If you watch onto the sessions, you
Mm.
see me crying probably. But it just felt like such a cleansing experience when emotions come up and come out, and then you just feel so much freer. Is that an experience that you often have with clients?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really nice way to put it, that sort of cleansing. Um, Sometimes people are a little bit worried that they're going to kind of rediscover something or re-traumatize, visit some sort of past traumatic event. But actually, as you say, it's more like releasing that emotions, recognizing it as well. It's all right to cry, and it can be a
Yeah.
bit upsetting, but it's actually how you feel after that.
Yeah, it's so worth going through that small time of discomfort for the freedom that follows it. And
Mm.
I see that a lot with clients as well. And yeah, even though it can feel a little bit scary sometimes, because we are sort of trained to
Mm.
be afraid of our own emotions, aren't we? But
Yeah,
it's just so natural to have that experience.
absolutely, absolutely. And I really loved doing the session with you, and it was nice to have a focus. You know,
Mm,
you came with, something that you specifically wanted to work on, which can be really helpful.
mm,
Sometimes it's just like nice to just see what comes up, which is always helpful anyway. But if you want to kind of really clear something specific, it can be really, really good.
yeah, and we definitely did go back to a memory that was connected with money and fear of making more money, didn't we? So that was interesting that setting that intention did take us there. Do people usually come to you with a focus, or do you get more people that just want to, oh, I just want to see who I was?
I would say it's kind of 50-50, to be honest.
Hmm.
Because I think generally people are interested in themselves.
Yeah.
So it's quite an interesting thing to go, oh, I wonder who I was, or I find out a bit more about myself. So people come like purely out of interest, but they usually get something quite
Yeah.
cool. And then I would say like the other 50% are like something like yourself. I've got this thing that I've always struggled with, or I've got this thing that I've always known about or felt, but I'm not sure why, and I'd really like to overcome it. Sometimes people have done bits and bobs of other therapy and they think, yeah, that's helped, but it hasn't quite, finished off the story or something. That, so people will come for that reason, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because the past life stuff does go so much further beyond the work that we usually do in therapy, the work that I usually do in therapy. And I think it's so great if you've got something and you've done some therapy and you're thinking, well, I
Mm,
still haven't got to the root of that, and there's something that's not quite connecting. I think the past life stuff is a really interesting route to go down, and I think it's a good place to find answers, really.
yeah. It's just really
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah,
no matter what
absolutely.
happens.
Yeah, it is. It's so, yeah, it is really interesting. For me, it was very visual and very kind of, I mean, there wasn't a story as such, but it felt like a story. You took me down a path and then we went through a door, and yeah, that kind of felt like it had a story to it. It was very
Mm.
colourful for me. And I felt the other thing that I really wanted to mention was how safe I felt. I felt like I was in such safe hands because there were moments when you'd said, ask me a question, and I can't remember any of the questions that you asked
Mhm.
me, but I can remember there being times when I was just like, don't know, I can't see.
Yeah.
And I think there's a sort of tendency to want to have an answer. Like I wanted, it's a people pleasing tendency in
Mm.
me, I think. And I think
Yeah,
in most of us, I think it's quite a relatable thing.
definitely.
And at no point did I feel like I'd failed by not having the answer, or under any pressure to produce an answer. I felt so held, and so you knew exactly what to do, and you were so calm, and yeah, you could, the experience really shows. How long have you been doing this? Because it
Um,
seems like you must have been doing it forever.
I know, it feels like I've been doing it forever. I mean, I've been working with individuals for a really long time, and I used to be a social worker, and I think that gave me actually pretty good grounding in being calm in
Yeah,
tricky
I
situations.
bet.
So I think it is one of my good skills. Um, and then I've been a hypnotherapist for 10 years.
Yeah,
So yes, and I'm kind of getting, yeah, got to that point I think where I'm 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 confident that what will happen in the session is what's meant to happen in the session. So that's actually really amazing to hear because that's the intention, that you don't
yeah,
feel any pressure. There are no right or wrong answers.
yeah.
Um, it just is what it is.
I think that in itself is really therapeutic.
Yeah.
Because I think we go through life feeling pressure from all directions in so many different
Mhm.
areas, and just
Mhm.
being in a space where I don't know is okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it is. It is. I don't know the answer to that. That's fine. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's all right.
And it's, yeah, it's very, very different, yeah, as I say, from the way that we generally go through life. Did you
Yeah.
have any reflections to share on the hypnotherapy session?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's more like reflecting on the fact that it is your personal journey. So it's your journey, and I I personally, as a therapist, love to watch it unfolding. For me, it's interesting. For me, it's
Yeah,
fascinating. Um, I'm your guide, but ultimately, it's your information. And I kind of like the sort of investigative work. Maybe I was a detective in another life, because
yeah,
it's like trying to find, well, I wonder what this means. And maybe if we ask a different question, let's see what information we can get from this. Because there's nothing I like more, because I think in your session at one, the opening scene, as it were, was you
mm,
at a table in a kitchen. Now, on
yes,
the
yeah,
face of it, oh, all right, what's going on there? That seems a fairly normal event for a person in
yeah,
any time, to be in a kitchen,
yeah, yeah,
at a table. But then find out, well, what was that about? How were you
yeah,
feeling? What was all of the information that we gathered just from that
yeah.
one scene?
Yeah, it was interesting, definitely. And we sort of didn't get necessarily a full picture, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, but there was still so much gained from that, still
Yeah.
so much information. And I feel like we sort of got what we needed, even though we didn't get a full kind of start to finish story, and this is what happened beforehand and
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen afterwards. Is that what you find generally, that you'll get the snippets that you need?
You'll get the snippets that you need. You will
Yeah.
definitely get the snippets that you need. Um, when you think about it, there's a lot of information in there. It would take a
Yeah.
long time if it did go start to finish from somebody's life.
It would, yeah. That's true.
So yeah, the pinpoints, and so one of the key questions that I like to ask is, you know, go to the next significant point. And
Mm,
then that's a really good question for your subconscious to hang on to, right? What's the
yeah.
next significant thing,
Yeah.
you know? That's
Yeah.
really helpful.
That makes sense. My curiosity sort of went backwards in that situation. So the person that I had been had come into some money and he was really worried about it.
Mm,
And my curiosity was, well, how would he come into some money, and how would he come by that
mm,
belief that that wasn't a good thing? And
mm,
we didn't get those answers, but it was so it was so emotionally led that it felt like a very sort of right brain process. Like there wasn't
mm.
that kind of left brain logical analytical, this leads to this leads to this,
Yes.
but which makes sense because it's the emotions where it needs to clear, not the thought level.
Well, yeah, because yeah, does and you'll know this yourself with the work that you do. We can have all the logic in the world, but your body just doesn't care about that. It feels it.
Exactly.
It feels it.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
like somebody saying to you, "Oh, well, calm down." You're like, "No,
Oh, if only I'd thought of that.
I wish, but
Yeah.
my body is saying something else."
Yeah, and of course, like as you do the work more and more, you can sort of discern that and think, well, I believe this in my head, but I know that I believe this
Mm.
in my body. And that's, yeah, that's when we do tapping, that's where that sort of comes in, and getting that knowledge filtered down when you want it to, when
I
it's a
think it really does, and I think that's a really important thing to say actually, is that it is a learning process, the work that we both do,
it
you know,
is.
for people. You don't, because of the conditioning that we do have, you know, we learning to listen and tune into your body and what or your emotions, quite, you know, it's a skill.
It certainly is, yeah, for definite. And it's a lifelong skill as well.
Mm.
I wouldn't say, oh,
Yeah,
I've mastered that, I can always do that now.
no, no, definitely
Yeah,
not.
it's yeah, it's something that we continue to learn, for
Mm.
definite. Um, and I think it's not a linear journey as well. We sort of go back and forth, depending on what's going on in our lives and who's around us as well.
Absolutely. And actually, that really reminds me because you said that to me in my session,
Yeah.
um, which I see. I think it's interesting sometimes when two therapists get together because it's, you know, we might have more knowledge or experience than somebody who isn't a therapist, perhaps. Well, not always, right?
Not always, yeah.
However, um, so it's again, it's like these knowing things. So knowing this that I've learned about, and I know this from experience and clients, but actually my body knowing this and feeling this is a different thing. And
Mm.
you know, no matter where you've come from or what you know, um, we're all kind of equal in that sense.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it's so important for therapists to have therapy on an ongoing basis, because we always have stuff that we want to clear. That's why it feels to me so important to have our own therapy, for therapists to have our own therapy. I work with a few therapists, and then I sort of go to somebody else myself, because
Mm.
we always have stuff coming
Yeah.
up and we've always got more stuff to work on. And yeah, like we said, that sort of spiral of healing where
Mm.
things come back round on a different level.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Do you want to, shall we move on to talking about
Yeah.
the EFT session?
Yeah, that seems like a good place to do this because I've trained in EFT and I, use it sometimes with my clients. However, it is completely different receiving um the support. I found it so incredibly helpful, and I really, really need to stress this to you because I, I've had a lot of different things going on, and as people will see, and I'm so happy to share it because, yeah, our brains, no matter, what we know, life does come along.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Life, life does come along, and I was feeling like quite stuck with a certain situation and upset and sad and all sorts of emotions. Um, and I just found that so so brilliant. But what I actually found most brilliant about it was your questioning, or your ability to hear what I had said.
Mm,
That's very important. You heard what I said, and then, of course, as people will see with the process of EFT, you helped put that into, the best words to to do the process of releasing that. Um, I just thought it was so brilliantly done. Um,
thank you. I'm so glad that it was helpful. Yeah, I'm really pleased that it shifted things. And that's, I think with EFT, the words, that's why people often get stuck. Uh,
mm,
and I always think, oh, well, all I'm doing is using the words that you've given me. But I think hearing them back is a really interesting experience, isn't it? Because I think as we're saying things, we're not always aware. And
no,
it's, yeah, kind of comes in on a different level when you hear it back.
it does come in on a different level. It is, it is how, yeah, how we hear things. It's majorly important. Um, it was, yeah, it was tough.
Yeah,
It was tough at times.
yeah,
Um, but as you said about the emotion that comes up in a session, these are not necessarily, this isn't a facial. This isn't a spa break.
yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
It's different.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, we come up about these hard emotions, and that there were certain bits where, it felt incredibly hard to say the words.
yeah,
Um, but I said them anyway, and with your support. And I think that's the difference because for me anyway, on a personal level, I know how to do this, but am I really gonna push it that far if I'm just by myself? And
that's,
is that,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's a really good point because I have the same experience. I tap by myself and I can get so far. And then sometimes you do just need that other person to be like, well, I've noticed that we're not going here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and it gets you that bit deeper. But yeah, it can be tough. In the same way that in clearing emotions, it can feel quite intense. And I do find that in my sessions that we do get into the emotions when people are ready, and people your body won't let them come up unless you're ready.
Mm.
And often I think you can feel like I'm not ready, but the fact that it's coming up means that you are, and to process that and to go through that in a space where that's okay
Mhm.
and let it through and out, it makes room for that clearing again, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, that's just so brilliantly put. It
Thank
is
you.
because you do, yeah. Um, because there were certain words that hearing them back, I thought I don't want to look at that.
Mm, yeah. And you always have the option to say, I don't want to look at that as well
Yeah,
in a session. You're completely in control. And if
yeah,
it's, yeah,
yeah.
if it
It
is
didn't,
a
no, it
st
didn't feel like, no, not in any way that it was a forced process or I had to do
mm.
it. You were, making me go here, come on, do it. Not that kind of therapy. No, not at all. Um,
Don't think
it
that's in
was,
any way helpful. That's just going to make people
no,
run away.
that is not helpful. No, it was, it was extremely gentle and supportive. Otherwise, probably it wouldn't have come up. I wouldn't have felt safe.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that is the way to get into the big stuff is to just be
mm,
so gentle. And
mhm,
again, it's the opposite of our conditioning, isn't it?
it
Or if you want to
is.
do something hard, you've got to be tough and you've got to really
Yeah,
push yourself and be disciplined. And it's just not true.
it's just not true. It's just not true. I had this conversation just today
Oh,
with a good
wow.
friend of mine about how in my family we were very much brought up to be strong, to be
Mm.
tough. You get
Mm.
up, you get on, no matter what. You know,
It's such a
mm,
common sort of thread that runs through people's
mm,
upbringing, I think.
it is. It is. Um, but there are other ways. There are other
Yeah.
ways. And you can, get up and get on with your day. That's
Mm.
fine. Um, that's, but you can also take time to do these really amazing things. Um,
Yeah.
and I probably, before I'd had the session with you, had fallen into a bit of that pattern of just
Mm.
carrying on, carrying on. Oh, well, I haven't got time for a break. I haven't, you know,
Yeah.
haven't got the capacity to look after myself, and do this because I'm so busy with life.
Yeah. And those patterns are in deep, aren't they? I mean, it's not your fault in any
Yeah.
way that you're running that because we're surrounded by it and we're living in a society that kind of lauds busyness and,
Mm,
oh, I'm so busy and that's, I'm doing so well. Um,
yeah.
and so to kind of fall back into that is just so natural.
Mm,
And then yeah, just all we can do is recognize it and come back and recognize
mm-hmm,
it and come back. And
mm-hmm.
when we do start to kind of do this work and approach things from a really, really gentle angle, it's amazing to notice how much more effective that is. Like
It is.
if I've got a day and I wake up and I don't feel great and I think, oh, I've got so much to do, but I really just want to have another hour in bed. I can get up and make myself do the things, and it will take me so much longer than if I just have another hour in bed and then get up
Yeah.
and do the things. It's
Yeah.
so much more efficient to be gentle.
Yeah.
And I
It
think,
is.
yeah. So for me at the moment, I'm coming out of employed work. I've come out of employed work a while ago, but I'm sort of
Mm,
my mindset is coming out of employed
mm,
work and into self-employment.
mm.
And I still got a bit of that thing of sit down at the desk at 9 o'clock and stay there until whatever time. Um,
Yeah.
and I noticed that just doesn't mean that I'm going to get that many hours worth of work done, but I can go and have a walk on the beach and come back and get like 8 hours of work done in two
Yeah.
hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know. I know. And it's a work in progress. And again, it's
Oh yeah,
practice. It's practice,
absolutely.
isn't it? And
Yeah,
these things don't happen. Um, it has to, I think the penny has to kind of drop with you. Again, it comes
yeah,
from like, just because somebody might tell you something, it doesn't mean that you actually feel it.
yeah,
It's about, as a hypnotherapist. I used to, not so much now. My well, work has branched out a little bit in a different direction, but I used to work with a lot of people who wanted to stop smoking or stop eating unhealthy food and that sort of thing.
Mm,
Um, so you'd sort of have these very sort of regimented um, expectations of what life was going to be like, and yeah,
yeah.
just
And I kind of shy away from that kind of work as well, because sometimes it can be, I don't want anything else in my life to change, but I just want to stop doing this thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, and so it's and those sorts of things are difficult because smoking, for example, the person knows fine well that it's not good for their body,
Hmm.
their physical body, their health, their money, their wallet, all of
Yeah,
those things, but still they've ended up, it doesn't stop the mind wanting to smoke or eat a pizza or whatever it is.
yeah,
But yeah, so and there's so much work to do on that, just until your body wants to make that change. It's
yeah,
hard. So those sorts of very gentle ways of working with ourselves, like
mm,
taking time to rest or valuing our time, valuing our health,
yeah,
just being nice to ourselves, they actually make so much more difference to
yeah,
the effectiveness of changes.
yeah. I do. I think that the biggest thing that we can do to affect any kind of change is come back to self-love. If you
Mm,
truly love yourself, then you do notice that you eat more healthily
you
and that you do
do.
the things that you need, and it happens naturally. And it doesn't mean that you never eat a piece of cake, but it means that
No.
your body naturally just gravitates towards balance and
Yeah.
yeah, what works well.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. Um, yeah, because like I say, that work where you're like, well, just the sort of, it's a different kind of way of hypnosis and stuff. You'll know, you've done hypnosis training where it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, stop smoking, it's bad for you, and da da da. That it just no. Until
yeah,
that person feels better about themselves,
yeah,
that's when you make better choices, and they just flow.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
natural. Mm.
absolutely. And sometimes it's kind of going into the deeper stuff, like what
Mm.
void is this filling? And
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
if you've got someone that's like, I don't want to, I don't care, I don't want to look at inside, I just want to stop smoking.
yeah.
Gonna take, is it?
No, it's not going to take. It's not going to take. It's not going to take.
Yeah. Oh, it was so lovely to do the swap with you. Is there anything else that you want to share before we move on to showing the sessions?
Yeah, what I would just say to anyone is, observe, go with an open mind.
Yeah,
We're all, yeah,
yeah,
it's two different therapies there, but I guess we share the same
similar value system
similar
for definite.
values about it, and about, yeah, and doing what works for you is just really important, whatever that may be.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, listen to your gut, and if
Mm,
yeah, if either of the therapies resonates with you, get in touch for
yeah,
definite. I'll put contact details just before the session videos, and I'll put them again at the end of the session videos. So if you want to get in touch with me or Sylvia, please do. And if you
do.
have any questions, please ask us. And yeah, let's show the videos.
Yeah, exciting. Enjoy. Okay. Well, welcome. It's really nice to do a lovely therapy swap with you today. Um, yeah, so what I'm holding here, I was introduced this in my therapy sessions. So I bought it about a year ago from a guy who had a crystal stall at an event, and But he was really knowledgeable. He had loads of big rocks, you know, like he had all the little crystals and that you could buy for like £5 or £10 or whatever. But then he had all of these big massive rocks, and we were asking him about them. And I wanted the big piece, but it was about £1,000. But I bought a smaller piece, and this is apparently part of the rock from that Stonehenge is made of. But
Oh,
they
wow.
found out that it had travelled. So it had been at somewhere before it moved up the mountain, you know, up on the top of the hill or whatever. So this is from the same source as those rocks. Anyway, and it caught my eye because he was like, well, my ear, because he was talking about how people who practice past life regression found this very useful to have in their presence.
Ah.
Because it held such magical powers, and I was like, oh, I think I'm going to have a piece of that. So I bring it to all my sessions. So
Oh, nice. And do you find that it helps?
yeah, I have actually. I have. And I know there's intention in everything. But yeah, so it's kind of like a ritual now that it
Mm.
comes to every
Oh,
session.
nice.
So, we're going to do a past life session or other life session today. I
Okay.
say that because sometimes you can go all sorts of magical, mystical places with this. So before we begin, how is there anything in particular you would like to discover with your session?
I would be really interested to do something around my relationship with money,
Hmm.
if that's something that I'll work with in it. And then the other thing that I've always thought, you can say which one of these is most relevant because they're completely
Hmm.
different, is that
Yeah.
I have this, and I've always thought maybe that's from a past life. Um,
Ah,
I've always sort of been kind of intrigued to find out whether
is
it might
that
be.
something? Sorry, is that something you've had since birth?
Yes.
And is it like a flat mark, or do
Yeah,
you have
it's
any other explanation for it? Like, did you a family story or anything?
no, they just call it a birthmark. It's kind of slightly raises the texture of
Hmm.
a mole, but obviously
Hmm.
big. And it's
Hmm.
obviously very central and
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's really cool. So people come to me for all sorts of reasons. Um, and past life regression work can be just something really interesting. Like people might think, yeah, people are generally interested in themselves. That's why we like to kind of read about our star signs or or that sort of thing, or
yeah,
personality profiles and things like that. People find it interesting to know about themselves. Not from an egotistical point of view. It's just nice to know yourself.
yeah,
So that can be really fulfilling in a session. So I always say that whatever you find out today will be what is going to be most helpful for you. And of course, you can journey as many times as you like. It's not like you do it once and then that's it.
mm,
But having a focus is really helpful as well. So we can definitely set the intention for your soul to to make some discoveries about your relationship with money.
hmm,
Money is quite a common one that we have in this life, generally for people in this time.
yeah, yeah,
Because it's not that long ago that we actually lived in lack. You know,
yes,
I know there's a lot of deprivation in the world at the moment, but relatively speaking, we're more abundant and more wealthy than we were. Um, so those relationships with money are quite a prevalent one. Is it specifically? Have you got any specifics around that, around the money?
So I'm really good at looking after the money that I've got, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
bringing it in that I kind of struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sort of get to a certain point, and then I can't get past that point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
What sort of emotions does that bring?
feel kind of like cagey about talking about it because I think, oh, I don't
Mm.
want to kind of tell everyone, and because obviously we're being recorded, I don't
Yes,
want to
okay.
tell everyone that I've got no money. And that's not true. I
Just so
haven't
that,
got
yeah.
no money, but yeah, it's um
Theoretically about, I mean, it could be that you get to your £1 million and then you don't want, you feel awkward about the next million, okay? So we're not
yeah,
talking figures
it's
here.
not that. um yeah, I think there's some sort of shame around
Mm.
kind of there's shame in both directions. There's kind of shame about not being able to bring it in, and then kind of shame about wanting to bring it in. And I think,
Mm.
particularly in the circles that we're in, there's a lot of people like, oh, we're not charging. No, we don't charge. And yeah, I think
Mm.
it can leave me feeling kind of guilty, and but I need to make a living. um,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
yeah, so I think there's a lot of mixed up things in there.
Mm.
I've actually got a little chart on my wall. I won't go into the details, but I am just
Mm.
going to grab it where I've kind of done a sort of spider diagram of like, I don't know, there can you see sort of my
Yes.
relationship with money? And
Okay.
there's sort of how my dad felt about money and how my nan felt about money, and
Right.
things coming from childhood, and
Mm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So again,
Okay.
something that I've kind of been looking at for a while.
Yeah. Well, your session your session for start well way before this point where we're sitting in front of each other, because your soul, your being has thought about it. We've been trying to plan this for ages.
We have.
So that alone, but besides that, these ideas or these things that you've thought, I wouldn't mind resolving this or moving on from this or feeling better about this, they've been in your consciousness for a while. So this is really good because this is all messages to your subconscious, your soul. I refer to both. I feel they're the same. Um, is that this will be something that will be helpful to journey and have a look at.
Mm.
So what we do in the session um, is we start off going into hypnosis. So that's like the first level. Then I've got a couple of techniques that I use, and I just mix and match and just see whatever go quite intuitively about what we're going to do. But it is just, it's not as complicated as it may sound, and it's not as difficult to do as it may sound to journey to your past life. Because if you've decided that that's what you want to do, then your soul will take you there. Few things to remember. We all receive information in a different way. And I know a lot of this you know, but it's helpful to
Yeah,
explain.
yeah, totally.
um, and I've started explaining this a little bit more to people because I've found that people get quite, their conscious mind starts to get really involved when they don't see specifically
Okay.
images in the past life session. So I think sometimes an expectation is that you'll sort of find yourself in a, I don't know, a marketplace
Medieval
at age
castle.
5, and
Yeah.
and you'll see the whole scene, and you'll see this, that, and the other, and you'll see color and everything. And it's not always like that. It can be like that for sure. Um, but I'll keep asking questions, and I'll keep asking questions until your soul finds a way to answer. So just really simply asking, first of all, I'll ask, well, what can you see?
Mm.
Now, it might be that you can't see anything, and that's fine. So then this is the point, and this is why I'm sort of bringing it up. This is a point where sometimes people or the conscious mind goes, I can't see anything. It's not working. I don't know anything. It's not giving me any information. I can't see. And it's okay, but it doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter because there's loads of ways to receive information. Because even people who say, oh, I'm not very visual, and I don't think I am either. I find it hard if somebody says, oh, imagine you're in a forest or something. And I think I can't, but then actually, if I said to you, think about a forest, you can't not imagine a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's it just takes a little bit of time. But say you can't see a thing and there's no visual whatsoever, then we move on to the next questions,
Mm.
which are most importantly, how do you feel? Because there's so much to be gained. And I've done an entire session, believe it or not, where a guy did not move from what he perceived to be standing in a field. Now, we didn't see any more than that. However, he was in the session for an hour and we gained a lot of information. So it is not necessarily a sort of journey through time in a sort of picture book sort of way. Um, Also, I'll ask you questions. So we're going to be conversing, which is different to a normal kind of hypnotherapy session where you wouldn't normally be talking all the way through.
Mm.
So when I ask you a question, just go with the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
And it's when it gets complicated when you go, well, did I just make that up? Or
Yeah, I
yeah,
was just thinking that there's that.
yeah,
Yeah, you're like, I'm making it up. What if nothing comes? You know.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So this is the other thing, very important thing, is that we do take our time. This information is coming from the depths of your soul, okay, literally. So maybe it's not going to ping out like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to take a few minutes to come forward. It's okay. And sometimes when you're sitting, and I'll just be quiet, and I might just prompt gently, but generally I'm going to wait for that information to come out. Again, this is sometimes where your conscious mind can pop in, but you can let me know. You can say, oh, I'm a conscious mind, I'm not worried, or whatever you might be, and that's fine. We can just gently ask the conscious mind to step aside,
Mm.
just back to what we know is going on. So it's yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like a bit of detective work, and I find
Mm.
it's just so interesting because we're trying to just find out the information and ask the questions. So yeah, have you got anything you want to ask me before we start?
I think you've probably covered everything.
Hmm.
I think that, yeah, I think I feel, yeah, I think I feel pretty good about what we're doing, and yeah, you've really kind of taken the pressure off, which is
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll let you. Oh, it's not a secret. I was going to say I'll let you into a secret, but it's not a secret. I'll just tell you. Um, but I've had a few past life sessions myself. So I've delivered hundreds and hundreds of sessions. But even in when I go into my sessions myself, there is that point where I go, really? Or I'm like, oh, just not sure. I just don't know if this is what I really, is this really where I want to go, or whatever. And even knowing what I know, our conscious mind is quite strong. Our conditioning is quite strong. So it's fine. It's just, and it will pass. Honestly, it'll just blow over.
Yeah, yeah. I think I get like my skeptical mind comes in sometimes as well, and I think I sort of manage that by just saying, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's real.
Yes.
It can just be a metaphor as long as it's helpful. And yeah, there's like other parts of my mind that's like, well, there's all of this evidence that it's
Yeah.
real. And yeah,
Well, yeah, and I'm actually a believer in both sides of it, to be honest,
yeah,
because
me
yeah,
too.
there's so much evidence to say that it's real. But then on the other hand, like you say, does it matter? Because if at the end of the day, if you have had a session and you've healed something or found insight,
Yeah,
it's a winner.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Job
definitely.
done. Um, but yeah, it's definitely real.
Yeah.
Okay then. All right. So for all my hypnotherapy sessions, I invite the clients to sit up,
Hmm.
so just with your back supported and relaxed. And yeah, so we will be talking throughout the session. You're going to start with your eyes open. We're going to do quite fast sort of guide into hypnosis, and that'll be the first few minutes of the session. And then I will let you know when we're opening the portal, as it were, to the past life,
Okay.
or other life.
Mm.
Okay, so quick question: is saffron the name that your conscious mind or subconscious mind in this life would recognize?
Yeah, I think so. It hasn't always been my name, but it has been for a while.
Okay, right. And I know, yeah. And the reason for anybody watching that I'm asking that is that we're conversing with the subconscious. So sometimes people are known as Bill, but their actual birth name or name that they normally are known as is, I don't know, Stephen. And it totally happened. So
Yeah.
I always ask so that your subconscious will recognize who we're talking to.
Mm.
Yeah.
I can tell you my childhood name if that's helpful, but I don't like it. And I don't like to hear it.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll go with saffron.
Okay.
Because we're traveling other places anyway, and you most likely have had a different name, so it's
Yes.
not as relevant as it may be in a kind of normal hypnotherapy session.
Okay.
Okay. All right then. Okay, so hypnosis first of all. So I want you to rub your palms together. I'm going to move out of the screen.
Okay.
The reason I always do this is because people like to watch the screen. There's nothing there for you to watch. So I'd like you to concentrate on either your right or your left thumb. So choose one to look at. Focus on the nail and then the tip of the nail on that thumb, and it's going to move backwards and forwards. Brilliant. So it's just really important, and it's funny sometimes, well actually all the time when you do this, you'll notice that it looks like one thumb is moving faster than the other thumb, but
Does.
really you're actually moving your hands at the same pace. Bit of an optical illusion. We're just keeping your focus on that thumb. Okay, I'm going to count from 1 to 10. When I get to 10, I want you to keep your hands in the same position, but just stop rubbing them together, but keep your focus on that one thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Beautiful. Now, keeping that focus on that one thumb, I want you to separate your hands about 6 inches. Just watch it moving. That is perfect. Keeping your focus on that thumb. And we're going to use a really, really old hypnotherapy technique here about imagination. And all the hypnotherapists in all the land will know this one. And it doesn't even matter. So we're going to just experiment how we can bring something that isn't quite physical into our awareness. So if I were to ask you, imagine a lemon. You could think about a lemon. You could think about the shape of a lemon, the weight of a lemon. You could imagine if you cut that lemon in half, how it would feel, how it would sound, how it would smell if you brought that lemon up to your nose. And then finally, if you were to bring that lemon all the way up to your lips and taste the lemon, you would be able to bring into your awareness the taste of that lemon, which is not present at this moment. I'm going to use that just as an example, and we're going to put magnets on your palms now. We're going to imagine the one palm has a positive magnet and the other a negative magnet, and those magnets are going to just pull together, draw together, just watching the palms and watch that thumb move. When your palms touch, it's an invitation to just fall into a deeper hypnosis than you are already. You're already in hypnosis and you can close your eyes down. Your hands can relax all the way down. Now, breathing in and out. Each breath in, taking you 1,000 times deeper into hypnosis. Each breath out, letting go, letting go, and letting go. Each breath in, taking you 2,000 times deeper into hypnosis. Each breath out, taking you, let's go 3,000 times deeper into hypnosis. All the while just letting go, letting go, letting go. Every nerve and cell in your body taking a huge sigh of release as it just releases and lets go. All the way down, moving all the busy thoughts, all the busy thoughts out of the way. And we can go past all the everyday thoughts, and go past all the everyday into hypnosis now. And hypnosis, as you know, Saffron, will feel different for every single person. We'll know that some people will feel this lovely heavy sensation throughout their body. And even if I was to say to you, open your eyes or raise your hands, you just wouldn't be able to bother. It would just feel like too much effort. Why would you want to anyway? Because you can enjoy this beautiful, calm sensation within your body. And at the very least, the very minimum today, that's what you're going to experience. A nice sensation of calm within your body, a little rest for your nervous system. But of course, we're going to travel deeper than that. That is the invitation, that is the intention. And you may get other sensations. You may get tingling, you may get heat within your body. You may feel cold at times. And you may feel very light and floaty. Just remember that you are here, you are safe, and you are fully in control at all times. This is your experience. And at any point you wish to, you can simply open your eyes. So just taking a deep breath in and release, making the decision, making your own decision about going into deep hypnosis in order to experience, to make some discoveries today about yourself, about your life, all for your greater good, all for your healing, all for yourself. And we've talked consciously about your intentions for today. To perhaps lose some of the shame attached to needing, wanting to bring in more cash. And also releasing the shame of not having enough cash. We're going to work with this idea of shame and letting go of that around money and see what we can discover about the reasons for that and whether that's been anything that you've carried from a previous life into this one now, with the purpose that we can heal that part, we can release that part, we can break any ties. Amazing. And then, of course, your soul can make any other discoveries along the way. Anything else that your soul feels is going to be important for you to know. We welcome that information as well. So I'm going to introduce to you now 2 feathers. The first feather, Saffron, is going to be an invitation to deepen your state of hypnosis even further. So you're going to journey deeper and deeper into your subconscious. All parts of you are going to go along. And it is at this point that we invite any guides, angelic support, soul family, anyone at all who's there to support you. And you don't need to know or not know whether they're present or not for them to offer you support and safety. And I always invite Archangel Michael along because he's the one that can really help us to cut any cords. And again, this is not a belief system. It's just an invitation. So this first feather will take you deep, deep, deep into hypnosis. The second feather will be the path, the gateway to the first of your lives that we're going to explore today. Because you never know, we might explore more than one. So feather number 1 is now going to appear in front of your eyes. It's going to float there, just at eye level. Now I want you to notice what you know about this feather. And it might be that you can see it, and you can look at the colours, and you can look at the length of it. You can look at the texture. You might even decide what bird it's come from. That's the first part. This feather is just floating in midair in front of your eyes. And it's going to gently begin to move from side to side. It's going to float gently from side to side, and it's going to very, very slowly begin to move down to the ground. Now each movement side to side is going to take you deeper into hypnosis. And when it eventually reaches the ground, your subconscious is just going to really let go and open to all opportunities and guidance. If you just give me a little nod when it's reached the ground. Okay, amazing. So here we go, feather number 2. Now this time, I'd like you to tell me out loud, what does feather number 2 look like? It's floating in front of your eyes now.
Different than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
More of a sort of golden brown colour.
Okay. I'm just going to feel a nice gentle breeze coming to the side of your body, and it's going to start to move the feather down to the ground. When the feather reaches the ground, this is your soul's invitation to take you to another life that you have lived before this one. So when it reaches the ground, I want you to just let me know. Okay. Can you tell me what you know about the ground that it's landed on.
It's it's like compressed earth, like soil that's been walked on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The grass is worn away. It's a footpath, I think.
Footpath.
Yeah.
Are you able to look down at your feet perhaps and see them on the path?
Can't see them clearly.
That's okay. How does it feel to travel along the path?
It's nice. It's relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
No pressure. Just walking in the sunshine.
Sounds gorgeous. How do you feel?
Just at ease.
Mm. Do you recognize this feeling?
Yeah.
Where do you think you're going to? Or does it matter?
I don't. Yeah. I think I'm not going anywhere.
Mm. Okay. What I'm going to ask your subconscious to do now is that somewhere on the path you're going to find a door. And it might be now, or it might be when you've walked along the path a little further. Just let me know when you found it and tell me what it looks like.
It looks like this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's blue
Amazing.
in the stone. There's a little window in it.
Okay. So I'm going to invite your subconscious to take you a little deeper or for a little bit more information. And we're going to find this on the other side of this door, but your subconscious knew that already. So when you go through this door, it's a further invitation for your subconscious to take you to a different life with this information that you seek. So when you're ready, I want you to walk through the door and tell me when you're on the other side. Okay. Tell me what you know about where you are now.
In the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And they're cooking.
How do you feel?
I felt happy when I came through the door.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm crying.
Okay. Okay, we're going to just find out what's going on here. What do you know about why you're crying?
Um, my family here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love them a lot.
Tell me who's there.
My wife and my daughter.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask your subconscious, what is it that you need to know from being here in this kitchen right now?
That you have so much love and almost no money.
Why is it important for you to know this?
So I've made it mean that it's one or the other. That you can't be happy. That having lots, because then you won't make things. And you need to make things to be happy.
Okay. How does that make you feel?
Like, I need to protect her happiness.
Does it feel like there's some compromise to be found? Okay.
Mm.
I want to ask your soul if there's anything else that you need to know from this scene in the kitchen now.
I've got some money. I've got some money, and I'm frightened that we're gonna lose this nice life that we've got. And I haven't told them yet.
Okay. Why do you think the nice life will be lost?
This will change.
Just take your time. You're doing really well. Just want to get as much information about this as we can. I'm going to ask you a different question.
Mm.
What do you think would be helpful to let go of if you could leave it here in this kitchen now?
Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of change.
Mm. Anything else?
Mm.
No. Okay. All right then. Let's do that. Let's leave it here. So it's just going to invite any support around you, but most importantly yourself, making the decision to leave it here, detaching it from yourself, cutting those cords. Put it down, put it somewhere. Let it just be alchemized by the earth, the sky, wherever. We're not putting it in a hole, we're not burying it, we're just leaving it here and letting it dispel. Just taking it from your being. You can see or imagine the fear just in any which way your soul feels appropriate. Just detaching, doing that now. Mm-hmm. Let me know when you feel that's complete. And let me know if there's any difficulties. Let's work together.
It's done.
Okay, brilliant. All right, we're going to move on. So we're going to leave the kitchen. So I want you to find, you can either go back through the door that you came, or there might be another door. You decide. But in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're going to go from that room now. Okay, deep breath in and release. Okay, now energy will just be dispelled. Okay. Where have you found yourself now?
Back outside.
Mm-hmm. Back on the path?
Back on the path.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel?
Bit lighter.
Good. Okay. So, I want your soul now the opportunity to see what else you might find today. So, either right now or further along the path, you're going to find another door. Let me know when you're in front of another door. Mm-hmm. Tell me about this door.
It's uh it's I don't think it goes inside. I think it goes into the next field. It's a wooden
Mm-hmm.
door with a handle, black handle
Okay.
in the
If you were
back.
to put your hand on the handle, how would you feel?
Okay.
Okay, good. All right. Let's have a look through. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to go through the door. Let me know what you see.
Yellow flower.
Mm. Are you alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how does that feel?
It's okay.
Mm-hmm. What do you know about yourself?
I haven't been here before.
Okay.
I'm younger.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing in this field?
Looking and exploring.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing all the flowers.
What else do you know about yourself? Do you have a family?
I'm not, I don't know.
Okay.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Got long hair.
Mm-hmm. How old do you think you are?
19.
Okay. And in time, what year is it?
I don't know.
It's okay. Sometimes it's important, sometimes it isn't. So when I ask your subconscious mind why it's brought you here, what's important about this place?
It's beautiful.
Mm.
And it's calm.
Mm. That's very important.
Yeah.
Sometimes when our subconscious takes us to places which are filled with this huge sense of calm, it's a chance for us to refuel, for ourselves to remember this beautiful sensation.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes ourselves forget this. How would it feel just to be in this sensation for a while?
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just going to be quiet. And you can let me know when you'd like to move on, but there's no rush. Just let your body remember and take in that information. You're feeling ready to move? Yeah, okay. Is there anything else that you think you want to take from this place? Or your subconscious wants you to know?
I remember that being calm.
Mm. Okay, okay. Really nice. All right. I want you to take a nice deep breath in and release. I'm just going to walk back through that door, back onto the path. Now, here I want your subconscious to decide whether it would like to explore one more door or whether that's enough for today. You can just travel back along the path to where you dropped the feather. You can decide that now.
Go back to the feather.
Okay. Let me know when you're all the way back to the feather, and when you get there, you can just open your eyes. Hi.
Hi. It's really intense.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking of maybe, yeah, I'll give you the choice, but I bet she goes back to the feather.
Yeah.
Got the feeling we'd had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
right.
That was really strange because I was crying and crying. I had no idea why.
Mm. Mm-hmm. It can, yeah, it can just catch you by surprise a little, but
Yeah. I had like this really clear image of bread dough on the table,
okay.
and somehow that was significant.
Mm. Perhaps related to, well, food and abundance and wealth is, you know, quite a
I th-
symbolic, maybe, or.
I think it's a feeling that the more money there is, the less the connection to
Mm.
you know, to keeping yourself alive, and that's not a very clear way of putting it, but
Mm.
I always feel better when
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the things that are survival things, like when I was gardening and growing food, I felt better.
Yeah.
If I'm doing things that are to keep us going and to keep us warm,
Mm.
and rather than, and the more money you're making, generally the further the things that you're doing for it are from those survival things. And there was this feeling that he'd come home with these three big gold coins,
Mm.
and this was a lot of money, and it was
Mm.
going to change things.
Mm-hmm. Mm. It's okay. Yeah. And so
And it,
that seems to be the bit that was the point that you didn't want things to change.
yeah, yeah, there was a very strong feeling of not wanting things to change.
Mm. So in relation to your life now, um, how could you work that through? What's going on with your life right now?
Well, we do want things to change. We're
Mm-hmm.
in a house that we don't want to be in necessarily. We want to
Mm-hmm.
be, um, yeah, we want to be able to move, and that is going to take money.
Mm.
Um, and we're just sort of in the process of working out whether that's money that we have or money that we don't have. Things like
Mm-hmm.
getting the house valued and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, the other part is that I'm working hard to build this business,
Mm-hmm.
which is around, obviously around kind of similar work to what you're doing, the deep work. And it does feel like it's away from those survival things and the making and building and growing
Mm-hmm.
and things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, yeah, a lot of bits that I can't quite get
Yeah,
hold of. Um,
I know what you mean. So I think. sort of as an observer of the situation. And I think I asked the question in the session about whether there was some compromise. I felt called to ask that because it was as if going to the other extreme seemed like just too far
Yeah.
apart, too different.
Yeah.
So I was wondering whether there was some sort of place in the middle where you could find a sense of peace, I suppose, with it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know what you mean about the survival, and again, I think that's brought it back to um, if you really were in a scenario in this in other space and time where you know, like probably most people, unless they were incredibly wealthy, you were working to survive. You were every day, you know, it was a different kind of way of life.
Mm.
So if you didn't make the bread, you didn't have any bread, you know.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have the flour, there was no, you couldn't make the bread. So it was always working to survive, and that sort of sensation of doing the work and then, you know. Um, so if you, you know, to suddenly be in that position where it's kind of like maybe a loss of purpose as well. It's like, well, what do I do? Well, how do we have these jolly chats around kneading the bread, and you know, so then what are we doing? Um, and I feel like for yourself, like it's finding this space where one, the work that you're doing, if you're working to provide, doesn't really matter whether it's digging some vegetables or delivering a therapy session, it's still work. That's
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah.
It's just different kind of work, but it's still work that requires your energy um, and effort. Um, but also I feel like that, you know, there is also the compromise that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of seeing it differently.
Hmm.
There's no, like, money gives you choice. It doesn't mean you have to live like a person that's got money.
No, no, absolutely not. It doesn't mean that, yeah, it doesn't mean that
Whatever that
suddenly,
sort of
well, yeah,
archetype
whatever
is in
that
my
is,
head. Yeah.
exactly, whatever that is, what is that anyway? And
Yeah.
it is money does open up choices. Um and it doesn't need to take things away either.
Mm. Yeah. It's so interesting, isn't it? So,
Mm. I
yeah.
think that what I would suggest, because it's just a bit, you know, it's just lots of sort of new information, I suppose, that's sort of come into your awareness.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna kind of
yeah,
tie it up with a neat little bow just now.
yeah, let it, you know, let it sink in, let it, you know, chat about it, think about it, journal about it.
Yeah.
Um, and and know that you did do some work around leaving the actual physical fear.
Yeah.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
actual fear, which is good because actually now then you can just sort of think about it from a place of calm, which I
Yeah.
think was so important with the
Yeah.
second place that you went to, this
Yeah.
sensation of calm,
Definitely.
because you know when you feel calm, when you work from a place of fear,
You
just
can't, yeah, you
it
don't get
doesn't really
anything
work.
good
It
done.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good. You know, I don't believe you ever make any wrong decisions, but you know, you're not making it with the best starting point.
Yeah.
Um, so remember the calm, and I think that it's, you know, it quite often happens in a past life session where we go to a place and it's a remembrance. It's not always about breaking ties and breaking things and, you know, letting go of stuff. Sometimes it's a remembrance that your body and your cells remember, wow, actually, in a field of flowers, of calm, of just,
Mm.
that's it. There was nothing
Yeah,
more to it.
yeah, yeah, that bit was lovely. That
Mm,
was really nice.
mhm,
I think it is, yeah, just as you say, to just reflect on it and sit with it and
mm,
just think about what that compromise might look like. And
mm.
yeah, yeah, it's, yeah, thank
And
you.
what would it really be like, or what will it really be like, and without the fear, and just embracing the change?
Yeah,
Really exciting and fun.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very, very welcome. Very, very welcome. Um, it's an absolute pleasure, and you know, it's just so interesting and just such a joy to do. Um, so yeah.
Yeah,
What I always say to all of my clients is, you know, just take it easy. Obviously, look after yourself, drink lots of water, go when it's a nice sunny day today outside. Even if you stick your head out the window, get a bit of fresh air, eat some whole foods, that sort of thing. Just to, you know, let everything settle.
mm,
And if you need to chat through anything whatsoever over the next few days, just get in touch, because it can be like that. And then it's sometimes hard to suddenly to try and explain the whole thing to somebody else.
yeah,
Because sometimes
yeah,
it's just like, I don't know where to begin with this.
yeah,
So if you want to just like go, oh, what about that? Oh,
yeah.
you can, okay?
Yeah, rather than going and finding someone else and going, so there was this bread and these
Yeah.
coins.
We're like, what? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. That's
You're
brilliant.
welcome.
Okay, so what's going on?
So it's funny that when we first booked this session, and you know, we were deciding to do a therapy swap, and as you know, you've come for you know, a session with me, and I thought, oh, wonder what I'll work on or something, and then it kind of life really reminded me that I actually have got a few things going on. You know how you kind of sometimes as a therapist you forget about yourself a bit.
Yeah,
Um so and it might actually resonate with people. So I my daughter has ADHD and she's autistic. So that in itself, she's like 12, um, is as a parent, it's kind of a different way to parent, I guess, or could be can be challenging and all that sort of thing. But I also have ADHD, and what I realized about sometimes when I'm parenting her is that it's hard to manage the two, because what she does triggers me.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and then you've got this weird conflict that you're the parent, you're the mother, but then you're also having, you know, these difficulties of managing your emotions and regulating your emotions. um so there's just been, I mean, it's a common theme for people, for parents with neurodiverse children, that school can be a challenge because of the system, because of the way schools are run, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
Okay. There'll be people nodding. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've been having, in this past year, I've had a sort of ongoing issue with trying to get her an education for all sorts of reasons. Also, just a year ago, like come the 22nd of February, my sister died. And so it's been like this past year has actually been quite a lot. And it wasn't until I kind of reflected, I thought, wow, you know what? No wonder you feel a bit frazzled.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, so I obviously everything is easier to manage. So when you're feeling a bit calmer and a bit more in control, um, so I would I would really love to work a bit on that. The the sort of I don't know how to put it. Yeah, because there's just been a bit of sort of this past couple of weeks, especially, there's been lots and lots of school meetings with lots and lots of different professionals, and then you get really, well, I get really frustrated because you've had a conversation with one person, and then you think, oh yeah, I'm getting somewhere, and then you speak to another person and they've got no idea about the
Mm.
conversation that you had with the other teacher. And for me, and I don't know if it is the ADHD or not, and my ADHD is me, like it's, it's my it's part of me.
Yeah,
It's not a separate bit. But yeah, I've just found that extremely frustrating and tiring.
yeah,
um
it sounds it. It
yeah.
sounds really hard work.
Yeah, so then I'm just like, oh, I'm knackered.
Oh, okay, so we can definitely work on that and work on centering yourself and
Hmm.
grounding yourself, because it sounds like this is a challenging time that's going to continue. There'll be more of these meetings.
Yeah,
So tell me where I'm wrong. Is it right about to say that the goal is to maintain your own sense of calm and sense of peace as you go through the challenges?
that is exactly it. That is exactly
Perfect.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So, have you done any EFT before?
I have, I have done some EFT before.
Hmm.
However, well, just like anything else, I think it's it's easier to focus and concentrate and do that for yourself when you have the support of another person.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're having a difficult time like you are, sometimes it's not so easy to kind of think of what words are going to be the most helpful.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, would you like me to go over the points, or do you want to just dive straight in?
So it's up to you. Whatever you think will be most helpful.
Okay, well, let's dive straight in. If I'm doing something and you think I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, just
Hmm.
stop me.
Okay.
So I'm going to say the words that come to mind. If you
Hmm.
want to change them, that's completely fine. If you want to stop me in the middle of a round, if something comes into your head, if so often what can happen when we're tapping is we're kind of sinking into, it's almost a hypnotic state. It's probably not quite as deep as you would take people, but it accesses a layer of your consciousness that can bring up old memories, bring up beliefs. And if something pops into your head, even if it seems completely unrelated, stop me and we'll follow that
Okay.
trail.
Okay, I
Okay,
understand. Yeah.
so we'll start on the side of the hand and just repeating after me, even though there's so much going on
Even though there's so much going on
and I'm feeling so frustrated,
and I'm feeling so frustrated,
I choose to love and accept myself
I choose to love and accept myself
exactly as I am.
exactly as I am.
Even though this feels really stressful
Even though this feels really stressful
and it's really triggering me,
and it's really triggering me,
that's okay.
that's okay.
And I'm okay.
And I'm okay.
And I choose to feel safe anyway.
And I choose to feel safe anyway.
Even though this feels really frustrating,
Even though this feels really frustrating,
I can't always keep my calm.
I can't always keep my calm.
I don't always know what to do.
I don't always know what to do.
That's okay.
That's okay.
And I choose to love and accept myself
And I choose to love and accept myself
exactly as I am.
exactly as I am.
Brilliant. Well done. So we're going to now go on to the eyebrows. So that's the start of your eyebrows. Perfect. I'm feeling really frustrated.
I'm feeling really frustrated.
Side of the eye. I'm not always sure what to do.
I'm not always sure what to do.
Under the eye. I'm faced with all of these professionals.
I'm faced with all of these professionals.
Under the nose. It feels like they're making me work really hard.
It feels like they're making me work really hard.
Under the mouth. They're not discussing this with each other.
They're not discussing this with each other.
And collarbone, so that's where the notches of your collarbone out and then out and down a couple of inches. Yeah, that's perfect. This is really frustrating.
This is really frustrating.
Under the arm. I don't know how to manage this.
I don't know how to manage this.
And then top of the head. This feels really beyond me.
This feels really beyond me.
Right, I'm not going to say the points this time, so just copy off where I'm tapping. This feels really difficult.
This feels really difficult.
Really overwhelming.
Really overwhelming.
I'm not sure I'm equipped to deal with this.
I'm not sure I'm equipped to deal with this.
And maybe that's okay.
And maybe that's okay.
Maybe I'm doing okay.
Maybe I'm doing okay.
I'm ready to see that I'm doing my very best.
I'm ready to say that I'm doing my very best.
I'm ready to see that I'm doing all I could possibly do.
I'm ready to say that I'm doing all I could possibly do.
I'm ready to accept myself through all of this.
I'm ready to accept myself through all of this.
Okay, take a deep breath. How did that feel?
It felt okay. There were definitely bits where it felt difficult to say.
Mm-hmm. The more positive bits was that.
Yeah, and I think the more compassionate bits, the compassionate bits maybe.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
so it's hard to find compassion for yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I could see as we were doing the positive that it wasn't quite landing. I could see sort of see the resistance in your face with
I
that.
know.
Okay, so let's check in with your body and
Okay.
see where all of this is sitting in your body, and then we'll go back to tapping
Okay.
about struggling to find compassion. Does that feel like the right direction to take things?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to just close your eyes and just check in. See if you can identify what the strongest emotion is related to this whole situation.
I think what's coming to mind is that sort of it's not really guilt, but it's like um it's like I know that it's like this sort of circle of kind of losing control and then feeling bad about that.
Okay.
Not like I do have an understanding of it, but I guess it's that, yeah, still that compassion with myself. So
Mm,
I want to just be calm and manage it.
yeah, okay. Say more about losing control. How does that show up for you?
Um, just feeling just really angry, um, shouting maybe even, or just not really shouting, but just not being in control of my words.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just
I'm
writing some
thinking,
notes.
just could have managed that a bit better.
Okay, because that comes back to struggling to find compassion, doesn't it? Struggling to accept yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I have a lot of judgment for myself,
Even though I have a lot of judgments on myself,
and part of me is saying I'm not doing well enough,
and part of me is saying I'm not doing well enough,
I'm not staying calm enough,
I'm not staying calm enough,
I'm ready to move towards loving and accepting myself.
I'm ready to move towards loving and accepting myself.
And I'm ready to see that I'm doing my best.
I'm ready to see that I'm doing my best.
Even though it's hard for me to see that I'm doing my best.
Even though it is hard to see that I'm doing my best.
Because part of me is saying it's just not good enough.
Part of me is saying it's just not good enough.
I accept that I have that part.
I accept that I have that part.
And I accept all of the rest of me too.
And I accept all of the rest of me too.
Even though I have so much judgment.
Even though I have so much judgment.
When I can't stay calm.
When I can't stay calm.
Because this situation makes me angry.
This situation makes me angry.
And I just want to be peaceful.
And I just want to be peaceful.
I recognize that there's a lot going on inside of me.
I recognize that there's a lot going on inside of me.
And I choose to love and accept all of myself anyway.
And I choose to accept all of myself anyway.
Brilliant. And then onto the eyebrows. I have so much judgment for myself.
I have so much judgment for myself.
I can't always stay calm.
I can't always stay calm.
It's almost like I lose control.
It's almost like I lose control.
And then I feel really bad about it.
And then I feel really bad about it.
This situation makes me feel so angry.
This situation makes me feel so angry.
And maybe that anger's justified.
And maybe that anger's justified.
But part of me is saying I should be calm.
But part of me is saying I should be calm.
And really, I would like to be calm.
And really, I would like to be calm.
But I'm ready to find some compassion for myself.
I'm ready to find some compassion for myself.
It's appropriate to be angry here.
It is appropriate to be angry here.
Because I'm not getting the support that I need.
Because I'm not getting the support that I need.
So I'm ready to acknowledge that feeling in myself.
I'm ready to acknowledge that feeling in myself.
And I'm ready to find ways to express it appropriately.
And I'm ready to find ways to express it appropriately.
So that I can stay calm in these meetings.
So that I can stay calm in these meetings.
So that I can present my case clearly.
So that I can present my case clearly.
Because that's really important to me.
Because that is really important to me.
So I'm asking my angry part.
So I'm asking my angry part.
If it would mind stepping aside.
If it would mind stepping aside.
While I'm in these meetings.
While I'm in these meetings.
And I'm letting it know.
And I'm letting it know.
That it will have its chance.
That it will have its chance.
And maybe I can do some writing.
Maybe I can do some writing.
To express that feeling.
To express that feeling.
Or maybe there are other ways.
Or maybe there are other ways.
Take a deep breath.
Okay.
How does that feel?
Okay, but what really came clear is that I'm not so worried, not so concerned about how I appear in the meetings.
Okay.
It's actually more that I'm angry about the pressure this whole thing is having, and more that I'm not remaining calm around my child. And I'm
Right, okay.
yeah. And I think because it's just all of those things. And I feel annoyed at the system for it, but then also it is overspilling into me. Yeah, just the whole situation. Um, so it's more her that I'm ending up frustrated with,
Mm,
and
okay.
that's what I feel worse about.
Okay.
It just kind of cleared a bit,
Yeah.
as I was doing that. And you're right, and it's sort of right, yeah, like the anger is justified because they have let us down.
Yeah.
And I do want to remain calm for the meetings because that's helpful, obviously. But then, yeah, I want to not let this is has been spilling over into our whole life, like everyday life, and I'm getting
Mm,
frustrated with my daughter, and that is actually what I feel worse about.
okay. We can definitely go into that.
Yeah.
How did it feel about the idea of finding a different outlet for the anger rather than trying to squash it down?
It felt really nice actually. Um, it was just, yes, it did actually feel, yeah, it just felt like a little, um, I don't know, just a little reassurance. It's like, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah. Because the feeling itself is not bad and it's fulfilling a
No.
purpose, and it's just
Hmm.
when it comes out in ways that are
Hmm.
destructive and
Yeah,
kind of hurting people you don't want to hurt, then that's when it sort of gets a bit dysfunctional, doesn't it?
absolutely, absolutely. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how would it feel now to go into, it feels like, it does feel like guilt. I know you said not quite guilt
Mm,
before, but
hmm.
are you happy
I
to?
think it, I think it probably is. I think now that I've sort of clarified what it is, yeah.
Mm, yeah. Okay, let's go into that.
Okay.
Excuse me. Even though I'm feeling all of this guilt,
Even though I'm feeling all of this guilt,
because my anger is coming out in ways I really don't want it to,
because my anger is coming out in ways I really don't want it to,
I choose to love and accept myself
I choose to love and accept myself
and all of my feelings,
and all of my feelings,
even though these are some really difficult feelings.
even though these are some really difficult feelings
And it's hard for me to accept them
and it's hard for me to accept them
because they're doing damage in my life.
because they're doing damage in my life.
I choose to find some compassion for myself,
I choose to find some compassion for myself
and I choose to feel safe anyway.
and I choose to feel safe anyway,
Even though these feelings are really difficult,
even though these feelings are really difficult.
this anger that's out of control,
This anger that's out of control
and this guilt that comes afterwards.
and this guilt that comes afterwards.
I accept that that's what's happening right now,
I accept that that's what's happening right now.
and I love and accept all of me anyway.
And I love and accept all of me anyway.
And then onto the eyebrows. All of this guilt.
All of this guilt.
I feel so bad
I feel so bad
when I shout at my daughter,
when I shout at my daughter,
when I get frustrated with her.
when I get frustrated with her.
I have all of this anger
I have all of this anger
and nowhere to put it,
and nowhere to put it,
and it's coming out in the wrong ways.
and it's coming out in the wrong ways.
And I feel so guilty about that.
And I feel so guilty about that.
And I accept that that's what's happening.
I accept that that's what's happening.
And I'm ready to be so kind to myself now.
And I'm ready to be so kind to myself right now
Because I deserve so much kindness.
because I deserve so much kindness.
I'm going through so much.
I'm going through so much.
And I'm doing my best.
And I'm doing my best.
And sometimes that doesn't feel like enough.
Sometimes that doesn't feel like enough.
But I'm ready to acknowledge the effort I'm making.
I'm ready to acknowledge the effort that I'm making.
And I would like to make some changes.
And I would like to make some changes.
In the way that I'm managing this situation.
In the way that I'm managing this situation.
I'd like to find other outlets for my anger.
I'd like to find other outlets for my anger.
So that I don't get frustrated with my daughter.
So that I don't get frustrated with my daughter.
So that I don't get frustrated with myself.
So that I don't get frustrated with myself.
I recognise that it's the system that I'm angry with.
I recognise that it's the system that I'm angry with.
And I'm ready to find appropriate ways of directing that.
And I'm ready to find appropriate ways of directing that.
And I'm sending myself so much compassion.
And I'm sending myself so much compassion.
For the way that I've responded so far.
For the way that I've responded so far.
It hasn't always been what I've wanted to do.
It hasn't always been what I've wanted to do.
I haven't always done things perfectly.
I haven't always done things perfectly.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
I'm a human being.
I'm a human being.
And I make mistakes.
And I make mistakes.
And I'm ready to forgive myself for that now.
I'm ready to forgive myself for that now.
Showing myself so much kindness.
Showing myself so much kindness.
And so much compassion.
And so much compassion.
Take a deep breath. How's that feeling?
Okay. But yeah, I think that's the crux of it.
How would it feel to, you may already be doing this, but to talk to your daughter about it and say, and kind of explain to her that your anger's coming out?
Yeah, I have. I do. I do. I know that that's okay. I know that I feel okay doing that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that it doesn't really help if you don't change. um, well, because what I do know is that she feeds off my energy and I feed off her energy.
Yeah.
And it is my responsibility to be the one who gives, the more positive energy. That's my job. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I think to be aiming to be giving the more positive energy all the time is a lot. And I do think, this is just my perspective, but I think there's a real value for kids in seeing the parents have feelings and that you can make a mistake and that you can go and apologize for it. And then you can do something like this, which is working to change that way of responding and
Yeah.
find a new way.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I agree. Uh yeah. I just
Yes.
yeah.
Because it's a lot of pressure on you to kind of to be perfect, and it's not achievable. It's not
No,
fair to you.
it isn't achievable. It isn't achievable. And I think the aftermath, yeah, the overwhelming aftermath of just thinking, oh, I just did not handle that well, is quite difficult. So I think, yeah, this, yeah.
So do you want to go into more of kind of the detail of what happens and how you would like to respond differently?
Hmm. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I mean, I think let's just say this is a really good example, which happens quite a lot, is, you know, she will, for whatever reason, and there are a multitude of reasons, not want to go to school. And sometimes it's to do with something that school have done, but generally it is all to do with what school have done. So she'll not want to go. And then I kind of panic because there's
Mm.
loads of reasons why I think she should go. Um, but then I'm also annoyed at the school for making her upset. And then I also kind of freak out a bit about also needing to do what I needed to do that day, which I can't do now.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot of, and I don't want to put that pressure onto her either. So there's then that sort of conflict between she maybe does need some time at home, but then school are saying she has to be in, and I know that actually it is better for her to not just spend all day at home.
Mm.
It's better for her to go out and see people. It's it doesn't end in a good day. Um, so then yeah, so that sort of feeling of sort of overwhelm, panic, frustration can be quite sort of instantaneous, and it's almost like it's become a bit of a trauma response because it's been
Yeah.
happening for so long. So then I kind of like feel like I do lose control, and I'm like thinking of all ways to resolve it, and just so that, and we can just have a normal day.
Mm.
um but
Yeah.
it never, that reaction never solves it.
Yeah. That's, I think, yeah, when you go into it's clear, yeah, there's a trigger
So
there, isn't there? And then when you go into panic, you haven't got access to that part of your brain that can think rationally and just
mhm.
be like, right, okay, how are we going to manage this?
How we're going to manage it, and what I'm really fearful of, and I sort of feel like this might have already happened, is that she thinks I don't want her around, whereas
Right.
that's not the issue,
Yeah.
because she'll say things like, well, I'll be quiet or I'll not disturb you. And I'm like, well, yeah, if I'm working, that is one thing that I would require you to do, but that's not really, it's not that I don't want you there. It's
Yeah.
it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's more to it than that,
there's
isn't
more
there? And
to it.
it's what's best for her. Okay. So shall we tap on that feeling of panic that comes in?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's kind of where things are
Mm-hmm,
going in the direction you don't want them to go, isn't it?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if we do that and see if we can open up some space for what would work better.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So even though I go into panic
Even though I go into panic
and I don't know what to do
and I don't know what to do
when she doesn't want to go to school,
when she doesn't want to go to school,
that's okay.
that's okay.
I accept that happens
I accept that happens,
and I love and accept myself anyway.
and I love and accept myself anyway.
Even though this triggers panic
Even though this triggers panic,
and then I can't respond calmly
and then I can't respond calmly,
and I can't find good solutions.
and I can't find good solutions.
And I choose to feel safe anyway now.
I choose to feel safe anyway.
Even though she says she doesn't want to go to school.
Even though she says she doesn't want to go to school,
And then I panic.
and then I panic.
because there's so many things to worry about.
because there's so many things to worry about.
The school says she has to be there.
The school says she has to be there.
I've got things that I need to do.
I've got things that I need to do.
I know that it's good for her to be around people.
I know that it's good for her to be around people.
And she said no.
And she said no.
And despite all of this,
And despite all of this,
I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself.
And her.
And her.
And all of my feelings.
And all of my feelings.
And hers.
And hers.
This feeling of panic.
This feeling of panic.
When she says she doesn't want to go to school.
When she says she doesn't want to go to school.
What are the school going to say?
What are the school going to say?
How am I going to manage my day?
How am I going to manage my day?
It's not going to be a good day.
It's not going to be a good day.
If she doesn't go out and see people.
If she doesn't go out and see people.
All of this panic.
All of this panic.
And all of this worry.
And all of this worry.
It's okay that I have these feelings.
It's okay that I have these feelings.
And maybe it's okay to release them.
And maybe it's okay to release them.
Maybe I could release these feelings.
Maybe I could release these feelings.
And open up some space.
And open up some space.
I wonder if I could approach this with curiosity.
I wonder if I could approach this with curiosity.
Rather than with panic.
Rather than with panic.
Or maybe I could find some curiosity.
Maybe I could find some curiosity.
About my own panic.
About my own panic.
I wonder why it panics me.
I wonder why it panics me.
When she says she doesn't want to go to school.
When she says she doesn't want to go to school.
It causes a lot of problems.
It causes a lot of problems.
There are a lot of questions to resolve.
There are a lot of questions to resolve.
And I'm not sure why I panic about it.
And I'm not sure why I panic about it.
What's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
We're not going to have a good day.
We're not going to have a good day.
We've not had a good day in the past.
We've not had a good day in the past.
When she hasn't gone to school.
When she hasn't gone to school.
And really, I would like her to go to school.
And really, I would like her to go to school.
I think that's what's best for her.
I think that's what's best for her.
It triggers panic in me.
It triggers panic in me.
And I'm ready to understand more about that now.
I'm ready to understand more about that now.
Okay, deep breath. What came up for you there? I could see things coming up in your face and I sort of got a little bit lost.
Yeah, there was quite a few things. Maybe an understanding that one of it's the unpredictability, I think, came up.
Yeah.
So I realized that it's the unpredictability, and then thinking, from my point of view, thinking perhaps that I've got a certain day planned, and then that suddenly changing, or potentially could change at any point, I think has left a sort of residual kind of panic. It's like the it's the like thinking, even down to not even necessarily work, but sometimes just thinking, and I feel as I'm saying this, I think, oh, this sounds really selfish, but So I might have arranged to do something for myself that I need, and then that's I can't do that either
Yeah, and
as
that's not
well.
selfish. That is, as you say, something that you need.
So I'm like, oh, even I don't know, maybe arrange to meet a friend or something like, oh
Yeah,
well, now I can't, and it's like, yeah, so it's the it's the unpredictability I think is leaving me on edge because I've
yeah,
for a long time I've not really known what is going to happen each day.
hmm,
Um, and even like having to rearrange our appointment last
yeah,
couple of weeks ago, and constantly having to make those decisions like, oh right, now I know I had this plan, but now that is out the question, that
yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. And it sounds like that's got you in kind of a moderate level of fight or flight all the
Yes.
time. So that then when those moments happen, when it's I don't want to go to school, or when the school ring and
You're
she's got
like,
to come home, that
yeah,
quite quickly tips you over into the panic.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So I think it's quite kind of tempting to be like, I don't want to panic, push that
yeah,
away. But there's a bit of, so when we were talking about being curious about the
mm,
panic, just sort of, yeah, so instead of just pushing it straight away, just understanding the panic and
yeah,
what does the panic want from you. And we can do this with all of the parts, the part that's angry, the part that feels guilty, the part that gets frustrated.
yeah,
um, and we can go into what do they need in order
mm,
to, what does that panic need from you in order to step aside and allow you to calmly manage the situation.
yeah, yeah,
Because when you, so you're kind of parenting your own parts first to
mm.
allow your have you done any internal family systems?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
So in IFS there's a central self, like self with a
mm,
capital S, that's got
mm,
that that is compassionate and
mm,
calm
mm,
and all of these things that can come forwards when these blended parts, the part that's angry, the part that's panicked, uh, are able to calm down and step aside. So
okay, yeah,
so something that we can do is go in and talk to those parts
mm,
and yeah, just
mm,
they all need love, and um, we often find that they're small children, that they're kind of separated at a young age, and so when you're feeling panic, you're becoming blended with that part that's panicked,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so as soon as you go in and say, okay, I'm ready to talk to the part that's panicked, you
mm,
unblend from there. Would you
okay.
like to do a bit of that?
I'd love to, yeah.
Okay, so are you able to connect with the part that panics when she says, I don't want to go to school?
Mm.
Can you get an image of that part? Can it appear as a character or a person or an animal or a thing?
Um, yeah, it's, I can sort of connect to it as a as a part of me as a person.
Hmm. So that part looks like you.
Mm,
Yeah?
hmm.
Okay. So what is it that she's frightened of?
I think I think it's I'm just getting like it's just like loads of things. Um, the thing that sort of came to mind, which is a bit odd, is not being able to rest.
Mm, yeah,
Um, so yeah,
yeah. And when did she learn to be afraid of not being able to rest?
Well, I think that's always been there. That's always been there, not being able to rest. Because, yeah, because she's the one who has to do everything,
Mm.
basically.
Can you get a sense of how old she is?
Um, quite young, like a teenager.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah.
What does she need from you?
Just to release some of that pressure,
Mm.
take it off her shoulders.
Is that
But
something
also,
you're able to do? Sorry.
yeah, but it's also take the pressure off that she can rest.
Mm.
She can rest.
Yeah.
It is allowed, and she will get an opportunity to rest,
Mm.
whatever that means. Rest is just the word that's come into mind, but it doesn't necessarily mean sit down or go to sleep. It just actually means have some quiet, or not necessarily quiet, just to um, be by herself, I think.
Mm.
I think that's it. Or be able to do what she needs to do when she needs to do it. That is it.
Mm. And
So
is that something you're able to give her?
not all of the time.
Okay. How does she feel about that?
I think this is the panic, because then she panics because she's like, but when will it be? And it's
Mm.
unpredictable.
Is there any way of bringing in anything non-negotiable that would fill that need for her, even if it's an hour a week?
Mm, yeah, it's difficult.
Mm.
Could do that, definitely. Well, no, not definitely. That's the thing. The situation is unpredictable. That's the key. It's
Mm.
unpredictable. But this is not anything not anything we need to do with Jasmine.
Mm.
This has been present for a really, really long time.
Okay. Do you get an idea of where it comes from?
I do. I do. And it's something I've revisited many times, actually, but I hadn't really connected it with this particular thing. When, yeah, just generally, just different points that her life has been unpredictable,
Mm.
very, very unstable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you offer her that might help her to feel a bit calmer and to put down that burden of panic? You can't, if you, yeah, you can't offer her anything sort of for definite, you get this time to rest. But what can you offer her?
The reality is that things are much more in her control than they were.
Mm. How does she feel to know that?
It's a surprise.
Mm. Does she believe you when you tell her that?
I guess if we both look back
Mm-hmm.
to how unpredictable everything always has been so far,
Yeah.
things are more in control.
Mm.
She has better resources than she did
Mm.
at 15.
Yeah. How would she feel about putting down that burden of protecting you from the unpredictability by panicking? How would she feel about letting you handle that situation?
Okay.
Mm. So now she's got an amazing opportunity because she doesn't have to do that job that she's been stuck with for however many years. She can choose a new role in your life. What would she like to do for you now?
Well, she's resilient.
Yeah.
I've started to get this sort of, yeah, image, more clearer image
Mm.
of her. Mm, she could be a reminder, a remembering person.
Yeah.
Like, um, of how much more safe things are.
Mm. That's brilliant. That's really good. How does she feel about that?
Good. Yeah,
Mm.
good. She's like because yeah, she's a robust part,
Mm.
because when she panics, it's not like a lie down and take it. It's more like a power force.
Yeah.
So I know that it's a sort of strong part, but just maybe not in the right direction.
Yeah.
Mm,
Mm. You want to say thank you to her for engaging and for listening to you and reassessing her role.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other parts that would like some attention?
Sure.
And how are you feeling now?
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
I think yeah. It's sorry. I'm just yeah, thinking about that
Mm.
because it's strange that that's the yeah, it's a sort of remembrance. Yeah, it's been unstable. Yeah, yeah, like a really unstable life. I just
Mm.
sort of hadn't really thought
Yeah.
about it. And I think that I've sort of been really craving just a normal, not normal, just where you know what's going to happen
Yeah.
each day.
Yeah. Yeah. Some stability and predictability and some routine.
Yeah, when, within reason,
Yeah.
you kind of know how things are gonna vaguely be,
Yeah.
um, so that you can then plan around that or, yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. But, um, yeah,
So
yeah,
there might be almost some grieving to do around that that's not quite where you are yet. And it sounds like you're closer than you have been to having that situation,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but that you're not quite in that stability just yet.
No, no, I'm not. But I think this comes back to the anger
Mm.
because it's like almost as if the system or all sorts of things are coming in and messing up the work that I've done, you
Right.
know, it's sort of
Yeah.
messing with the fact that actually in reality, and this is kind of like made me think about it, I've worked really hard to kind of get um, a nice sort of fairly stable life where nothing bad is happening. Nothing
Yeah.
bad is happening. Um, Not really, not compared to the past where bad stuff was happening.
Mm.
Nothing bad is happening. I'm safe. She is safe. We're all
Yeah.
fine. We have a home and food and just absolutely fine. Nothing bad is happening at all. So I think it's more even like that. Gosh, I've got here, and I'm obviously still a bit here, but
Yeah.
I'm here like, and then something comes along to mess it up, and it's
Mm.
annoying,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is it. There's um, there's all sorts of maybe pressures and stresses and things, and probably, well, not probably, yeah, I've done a lot of work, I've done a lot of things, and I've got myself to a pretty good place.
Yeah.
Um, but I think threat of that as well, a threat of that or other things kind of messing it up tells me a couple of things that one is probably not, it's still present.
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush. um, and also that's kind of, yeah, but maybe that is where it's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the real resolution is going to come from going into the past stuff.
Mm,
And it will, another thing to say is it will always be present. Healing
mm,
is a spiral and it will
mm,
come back round in a lighter way each time. But
yes.
there's no failure or anything like that in something coming back up that you've done a lot of work on. It's
Mm,
okay that that's happening, and it's okay that there's another layer to process.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so that would be the place to go next.
Yeah,
But yeah, in another session.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Feel like um I feel like that was so insightful. Like I don't know how to um yeah, it's amazing, I guess, how you how in such a short time you can really tune into yourself if you just take a little bit of time. Um and I do feel kind of calmer, you
Good.
know.
You might feel really tired and you've done some
Yeah.
really deep work, so that's really
Yeah.
normal if you're
Yes.
feeling tired.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Um,
So shall we finish with a round of tapping just to sort of close it off, bring you back into sort of everyday reality? I know you've just had to go and be in everyday
yeah,
reality for a
it's
sec,
like,
but
hello. Yeah, yeah, I'd love
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Even
Okay.
though I've worked really hard today,
Even though I've worked really hard today,
and that might have been a bit tiring,
that might have been a bit tiring.
I acknowledge all that I've achieved,
I acknowledge all that I've achieved,
and I love and accept all of myself.
and I love and accept all of myself.
And straight to the eyebrow. I've done so much today,
I've done so much today,
and I'm ready to acknowledge that.
and I'm ready to acknowledge that.
I've looked after myself really well
I've looked after myself really well
and gained some really valuable knowledge.
and gained some really valuable knowledge,
And that takes energy.
and that takes energy.
So I'm ready to be kind to myself
I'm ready to be kind to myself
and go gently as I can
and go gently as I can
for the rest of today,
for the rest of today,
giving myself so much credit
giving myself so much credit
for what I've achieved
for what I've achieved
and allowing myself to return to the everyday world
and allowing myself to return to the everyday world
and do the things I need to do
and do the things I need to do
and nurture myself as much as I can.
and nurture myself as much as I can.
I'm going to drink lots of water today.
I'm going to drink lots of water today.
I'm going to breathe deeply
I'm going to breathe deeply
and find moments of rest
and find moments of rest
with love, compassion, and acceptance for myself.
with love, compassion, and acceptance for myself.
Deep breath. How are you feeling?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, really good.
Amazing. That's
Thank you so
brilliant.
much.
You're so welcome. And if you want to do any more sessions, do just let me know.
That was incredible, and I really do feel like I need to tell you that I've done tapping sessions with people before. I've trained myself. I know how to do it. I don't, the basics. I don't sort of practice it as my main sort of thing. Um, but that session was actually incredible. Just
Good.
really, really, yeah, just yeah, it was amazing. Thank you
I'm
so
so
much.
glad that it was helpful.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. Yeah.